How often do you pay attention to the background characters in a movie or a book or a show? I know that I spend most of my time watching and following the main characters because they are, after all, the ones generally involved the most in the story. And I rarely sit back and think about the mailman who crossed my screen for 4 seconds or the classmate 3 rows back from the protagonist who does little more than utter a hello in some obscure chapter midway through the book. When I was reading Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, I focused on Harry as Voldemort called for him to save his friends by turning himself in. As a protagonist transforms into a hero, I craved a similar transformation for myself. Who wouldn't? Who doesn't want to be the underdog that trains for months or years to defy the odds and become the ultimate victor? Who doesn't want to be the strange sleuth who solves the puzzle, the crime, the mystery that no one else can? Who doesn't want to be the outcast who surges to the top of whatever social sphere they were rejected from? These stories, these characters represent so much of what we try to achieve in our own lives. We all have our flaws that we have spent lifetimes fighting to overcome, or aspirations we spend an equal amount of time trying to achieve. And if there is one claim that is easy to agree with in this whole work, it is that we want our lives, our stories, to have meaning and to be filled with purpose. So when I read the chapter of Harry's ultimate sacrifice for his friends at Hogwarts, I put myself in his shoes, not Ron's, Hermione's, or Neville's. It's his story that has ultimate meaning. It's his life that has the ultimate purpose. So often this story, and many like it, inspire me to make my life one of profound purpose. But as I've discovered over and over again in a plethora of ways, that is not only exhausting, but often futile. Every ounce of purpose I discover for myself only sustains me for so long. Every achievement I win on my own ultimately loses its meaning. So what if I stopped identifying with Harry Potter? And what if instead of walking into the Forbidden Forest to face Voldemort, I placed myself in the shoes of one of the unnamed, seemingly unimportant students at Hogwarts, sitting in the courtyard, waiting for their fate to be decided for them? You see, unlike Harry in this work of fiction, we actually are incapable of fully fixing ourselves. We lack the ability to fill ourselves with peace, purpose, or happiness on our own. We need something or someone outside of ourselves to be the first mover, to set into motion the peace, healing, happiness, and the purpose that we're longing for. In the story of our own lives, we are the students waiting in the courtyard for Harry to save the day. This feels deeply uncomfortable, to stand face to face with the reality that we are not in control, that most of the time all we can do is wait for a savior to do the work of saving while we wait and hope. And this is extremely countercultural in a world that is doing all it can to convince you that you can gain control if you will only try this, that, or the other thing. But what might change if you chose to accept that you need rescuing? What if we let ourselves feel what it would feel like to be rescued? What if we allowed someone to take the weight of the world off of our shoulders and usher us into a future of rest and peace? What if we've been trying to use our old tools of individualism and effort and performance to make something new of our lives, when in reality, the only way something new can ever be set into motion is by God, the first mover of all truly new things? I want you to picture a time when you were so frustrated, so pained, so exhausted that you felt like an avalanche of emotion might erupt at any given moment. When I find myself in this space, sometimes all I can think to do is clench my fists and wait and hope for the moment to pass. Maybe I'll go for a run or a walk or do some busy work around the house or take a nap, just do anything to take my mind off the turmoil within. If you're anything like me, then you know the last thing you want to do is burden someone else with your emotional baggage. But imagine that instead of having to solve, ignore, or persevere through such a moment, there was a friend, a parent, a sibling, or a significant other who looked at you, held their arms wide open and said, "Come here. Let me hold you." Imagine that person allowing you, encouraging you without any guilt whatsoever to release your mountains of pent-up emotions, tears and all. Imagine how it would feel to be held, to be told everything would be all right, that they would always be there, that they loved you. Maybe you've experienced this type of comfort before, and if you have, there's nothing quite as soothing as being held by someone you love while you break down. And somehow for that brief moment, something so simple made everything better. Now, imagine someone with a heart infinitely larger, with a love infinitely deeper, looking at you with infinitely more care. This is the one who set all other loves into motion. Someone who has seen everything you've ever done, everything you've ever said, everything you've ever thought, feared, and hoped. And imagine that person looking at you, smiling and saying, I see you, I know you, and I love you. Just imagine, if you would, for a moment, that person, that kind of love is real. Wouldn't that be something?